The government is quietly cutting the one kind of help that lets millions of older Americans stay in their own homes instead of being moved into a nursing home. Not with a headline, not with a warning in the mail. Quietly, buried deep inside a law that almost no one ever sat down and read. And it is counting on one thing above all else, that you will not find out until the very day you reach for that help and discover how much of it has already disappeared. I am glad you are here today because this is exactly the sort of thing that stays hidden until it is too late to act on it. So give me the next few minutes and I will walk you through the 3 ways these cuts can reach your home and your care, and the free steps that stop each one of them cold. Almost no one is telling seniors any of this. So let me tell you plainly what has happened. A large budget law was passed in 2025, and buried deep inside it is the biggest cut to Medicaid in the entire history of the program, close to $1 trillion pulled back out over the next 10 years. Now, you may be thinking that Medicaid is only for the very poor and that none of this has anything to do with you. Please do not make that mistake, because it is the most expensive mistake in this whole story. Medicaid is the single pay largest payer of long-term care in this entire country. It is what pays for the nursing home and for the helper who comes to the house, for millions of ordinary middle-class seniors who simply lived long enough to need care and watched their life savings drain away, paying for it first. And there is a secret at the very heart of this that catches almost everyone. So let me say it as plainly as I can. Medicare, the program you paid into out of every paycheck your whole working life, does not pay for long-term care. It will cover a short stay to get back on your feet after a hospital visit, but it does not pay for the months or the years of daily help that so many people come to need near the end of their lives, whether that help is in a nursing home or in your own kitchen. Most people only discover this at the very worst moment, standing in a hallway, being told that the care their husband or their mother needs will cost many thousands of dollars every single month out of their own pocket until the money is gone. And when the money is gone, the program that finally steps in is Medicaid. That is why this reaches you even if you have never needed it in your life. Medicaid is the safety net stretched underneath every middle-class family that lives long enough. And that safety net is exactly what they are quietly cutting. Here is the first way the cut reaches you, and it is the cruelest of the 3. When a state suddenly has less money for Medicaid, it does not usually cancel the whole program at once. It trims around the edges first, and it starts with what the rules politely call optional services. And here is the quiet tragedy folded inside that one word, optional. The care that comes to your own home, the aide who helps you bathe and dress and cook so that you can stay in the house you raised your family in, that home care is very often counted as optional. The nursing home is treated as required. Your home care is treated as optional. So when the cuts come down the line, the help that keeps you out of a nursing home is the very first thing on the chopping. Think hard about what that truly means. A single cut written on a page in a state budget office can quietly become the reason an older person is moved out of their own home and into a facility, not because their health got any worse, but because the help that let them stay simply vanished. The second way it reaches you is through paperwork. And this one is going to catch thousands of people who are fully entitled to every dollar of their benefits. The new law piles on more forms, more eligibility checks, and more frequent renewals just to stay on Medicaid. That may not sound like much at first, but for an older person living alone, perhaps struggling to keep up with the mail, perhaps not seen as sharply as they once did, a single missed form can mean losing coverage they have every legal right to keep. They are not dropped because they stopped qualifying. They are dropped because one piece of paper did not get filled out and mailed back in time. And this hits one group harder than any other, the roughly 12 million older Americans who rely on both Medicare and Medicaid together. For them, one paperwork slip can knock out the very coverage that fills all the gaps Medicare leaves wide open: the long-term care, the help at home, the bills Medicare was never going to pay in the first place. And the third way it reaches you strikes at the one thing you worked an entire lifetime to hold on to: your home. Even now, after a senior who was on Medicaid passes away, the program holds the legal right to come back and recover what it spent on their care. And the single biggest thing it reaches for is the house. That much was already the law for years. But the rules around how much home value a person is allowed to keep are being tightened under this new law. And the heavy pressure on state budgets means these programs will chase that repayment harder and more aggressively than they ever have before. So the home you always meant to leave to your children can end up partly owed back to the government to repay the cost of the care you received while you were alive. It is entirely legal. It is done very quietly. And most families never see it coming until a plain envelope arrives in the weeks after the funeral. Now, I do not tell you this to frighten you, because there is real good news folded right inside it. While you are still alive and living in your home, that home is very often protected. In most cases, the program cannot push you out of the house you live in to pay for your care. The danger is what happens afterward, in those quiet weeks after a death, when the recovery letter goes out to the family. And that gap between the strong protection you have while you are living and the claim that arrives after you are gone is the exact space where careful early planning does its finest work. It is the whole reason that the families who sit down and plan ahead keep the house, while the families who never knew any of this was coming are so often the ones who lose it. The threat is real, but so is the shield. And the shield only works for the people who reach for it in time. Let me make this real for a moment, because it happens to true families every year. And it is about to happen to a great many more. A widow, well into her 80s, is able to stay in her own home for one reason only: because a helper comes a few days each week to assist her. Her state, squeezed hard by these new cuts, trims back its home care hours to save money. Almost overnight, the help she has is no longer enough to keep her safe, and her children are told the only choice left is to move her into a nursing home. The house she lived in for 50 years sits dark and empty. And because her care is now being paid by Medicaid, the day she passes, the program files a claim against that very house to recover the cost. In the space of 2 short years, a budget cut she never once heard about took both her home and the inheritance she had spent her whole life protecting. Not one single part of that was against the law, and not one single part of it had to happen. So here is how you protect yourself and the people you love, and every step of it is completely free. First, and most important of all, never ignore a letter about your Medicaid or your Medicare. Open every one of them the very day it arrives. And if it asks for a form or a renewal, treat it as urgent, because in this new world, a late form is one of the most common ways good and eligible people are quietly stripped of coverage they have earned. Second, If you are ever told that your benefits are being cut or ended, understand that you have the right to appeal that decision, and you should use it, because a great many of these terminations turn out to be wrong and get overturned when someone pushes back. Third, please do not try to face any of this alone, and never pay a company that promises to sort it out for a fee. Every state runs a free counseling service built for exactly this, and there are area agencies on aging and legal aid offices and elder law attorneys whose entire purpose is to help older people hold on to the benefits in the home they are rightfully entitled to. And fourth, if protecting your home is what weighs on you most, do not wait, because the planning that truly shields a house has to be put in place early, long before any care is ever needed. Sit down with someone who handles elder law while there is still time on the clock to act. Lead is value to the Allen, then lead with that. So here is what I want you to carry after this ends. These cuts were written quietly and on purpose, and they are counting on one theme above all else, that you will not be paying attention until it's far too late to do anything about it. But you are paying attention right now. You know that the home care keeping you independent is the very first thing at risk. You know that a single missed form can cost you coverage you spent a lifetime earning. And you know that the home itself can be reached even after you are gone. Knowing all of that today, while everything is still calm and there is still time, is the thing that hands you the power to stand in front of it. Open the letters, ask for the free help, plan early. And if you know an older person who is on Medicaid or who is quietly heading toward needing it, please share this with them today, because this is the kind of thing that can only protect you if you learn it before the help you were counting on quietly disappears.